Hey guys, so we're back from our trip out west, north, yeah, all around. Um, we kind of wanted to give you a recap on the Dodge. You know, you guys saw us put the new motor in the Dodge. We worked really hard to get 500 miles on it before we hooked onto that camper behind you and took off. And that's about all we did get on it. I think we're like 480 miles. We changed the brake-in oil and we headed. We did about 15,000 miles total, and fun math, we kept a book of all of our fill-ups and all of our fuel mileage. We averaged about 18.7 miles per gallon for the whole trip. The trip was probably 75% loaded and 25 empty, give or take, maybe a little, maybe more, 50-50. So that's, that's where that is. We figured our worst mile per gallon was somewhere around 11 point something, and our best was up in the high 20s, which was just a complete empty drive to see a distributor, no camper, no nothing, just highway driving. So that averages out. We had no major breakdowns. We had a few minor breakdowns. We had the clamps on the intercooler boots. My fault, but you'll see they got springs, and I tend to put them on if an impact, and as many times as we had this engine apart and together the last year and a half, I bottomed the coils out with the impact, and obviously, stressed the bolt. So we broke two of those, one going down the highway at speed, coming to a hill, and it blew, made a great big bang. The other one just blew coming up through the gears on the highway, and it sounded more like a goose every time you'd step on the throttle and try to build boost. The fuel solenoid on the injection pump, which you guys can't see, but just trust me, it's there. We changed that twice. Neither time left us stranded, but once, both times it didn't want to always pull up. When you hit the starter button, there's a high current coil that pulls up, and then there's a low current coil that holds it. So you'd have to get out and pull it up manually, and then finish starting it. I think I just attribute that to cheap Chinese products. We did lose the air conditioning, I believe you call it the condenser out here, or the evaporator. I think this is the condenser. I'm not an air conditioning expert. We lost that at Tokerville Falls. You guys might have already seen that video, but we went to Tokerville Falls. It's a really rough off-roading experience for a 3/4 ton diesel Dodge. And the hood right here actually wore through the pipe right here. And we had to change that in the campground. We had a couple fuel leaks. We broke a fuel line, or cracked a fuel line, a factory Cummins fuel line. So we had to have that overnighted into the campground so we could change that. And other than that, we've done pretty good. We've got a small antifreeze leak that we can't find yet. It's been leaking for about 10,000 miles, and it uses about a half a pint every drive day. Pretty sure it's nothing to do with the actual engine, because if it was like a head gasket or something, it would get worse. So we think it's probably the heater core from, again, more off-roading, which you guys have seen some of the videos, you'll see some more. But we did a lot of off-roading in the Utah area and New Mexico area. I have a feeling we probably wore a hole in something in the aluminum heater core. So we'll keep digging into that. But overall, it ran good. We did stop by Power Driven Diesel, and they did a little tuning on the AFC Live, so that we could hold the throttle wide open going uphill and not run our EGTs out of sight. We did figure out that we're not real happy with the Borg Warner turbo, the K27 turbo. It's really beyond its capability, and it's hard to explain, but there's a drive pressure and a boost pressure. So if you was to put a gauge on the exhaust side of the turbo, that would be a drive pressure. So how much pressure is the exhaust having to make to spin that turbo to make boost pressure, which goes into the engine. This one is very unbalanced in the wrong way. When you try to make more than 25 pounds of boost, it actually makes a ton of drive pressure, which is exhaust temperature as well. It makes it run hotter. So we're going to do some tweaking to that before our next haul. Again, not at all unhappy. I mean, we were pulling 6, 8, 10% grades and pulling them at speed, so no real issue there. Just little tweaks we can make. But other than that, the old girl did pretty good. No major breakdowns, no tire issues on the camper. Am I missing anything? Can you think of anything else that we, yeah, so, yeah, that's kind of it. Like I said, it was one of those where We weren't sure what to get into. Our exhaust brake quit working. Well, let me rephrase that. Our exhaust brake never really worked when we left here. The compressor kept blowing the 30 amp fuse. So I think it was New Mexico, I finally had time to call Pack Brake, and the guy was really good. He said, did it set for a while? I'm like, yeah, I blew the engine. It set for 6 months with everything. You know, this is a check valve right here on the compressor, and that check valve sticks. And when it does, the compressor tries to start on the load and it blows a 30 amp fuse. So we cleaned up that check valve. The exhaust brake worked great the whole rest of the way. Some of those roads, like in Utah, New Mexico, that whole area out there, I guess it's the Rockies, you're going up and down. We crossed that about 100 times, I think. I think our longest was like 8% grade for 6 miles or something like that. The engine brake we found would hold you at a steady speed on a 6 to 7, maybe even 8% grade. If it was more than that, then you had to use some, you know, hydraulic braking and camper braking as well to supplement that. But up to about a 6, 7, maybe even an 8% grade, the engine brake would hold us back, maintain the safe speed that we wanted to maintain. So super happy with how that all went. We have a steering box on here that came from Gino's. I'll try to put a link in the description. It's sort of a newer version. It's supposed to be so much better. It's got a big dead spot in the middle now. So we actually have a brand new PSC engineering or off-roading or whatever they call themselves steering box in the garage we're going to put on it, and that's about it.
New master cylinder.
Yeah, so we had no real rear brakes the whole trip. This truck has always struggled with rear brakes. I don't know why, how, what. I've changed everything 6 times. So when we got back, we actually went and got yet another master cylinder and changed it. And now it actually has rear brakes. So we're getting there on that. Moral of the story is these auto parts stores, not picking on any chain. It doesn't matter if it's AutoZone, Advanced, CarQuest. I don't think it mattered. The product is not
refurbished well.
Well, and this, yeah, refurbished, or the why am I struggling for words today? Continuity in the product line, or consistency. That's the word I'm looking for. The consistency is not there. So if you put something new on your vehicle and it doesn't do what you think it should do, try another one. That's the moral of that story. So now we've got rear brakes. Everything's working well. We're pretty happy there. We're going to put the other injection pump on because this is the 94 pump. The 94 95 have a really crappy cam profile. It requires a ton of fuel pressure to turn over 2200 RPMs, and with the standard you really need over 2200 RPMs, because 3rd to 4th you really need about 2600. You're just going to fall on your face in 4th gear. But those are all things we planned on doing anyways. We just didn't have time before we left. We really had about a week and a half to get this thing running, broke in, proven out, and hook onto that thing and head. We were gone about 6 months. We did 3 oil changes on the road, and 1 fuel filter, and that's about it. So I think that kind of recaps the truck.
Yeah, we did have the interesting fuel filter problem.
Yeah, which I think is self-created. We have, the 94 has a spin-on filter and it has a water separator on the bottom. I found a Wix filter that spins on without the water separator. Somebody recommended the part number on one of the Dodge forums, and the O-ring is slightly different size. And we had one where it pushed the O-ring out a little bit and was just leaking just a little bit of fuel. Just enough so it didn't like to start if it set overnight, and that you could smell diesel when it was running. It wasn't like spraying everywhere or running everywhere, but it was running out. So the filter on these is on the high pressure side of the mechanical pump. So you've got your tank, you've got your mechanical pump, you've got your filter, and then you've got your injection pump. And when you turn the mechanical pump up to 70, 80, 90 psi to try to get any RPMs out of this pump, then you're of course stressing the whole rest of the system, right? So yeah, but that's, I think, about it. I can't think of too much more. We'll bring you along for some of the repair work. We're getting settled back in here in Florida. We're doing a lot of auto mechanics, so we'll try to get you some videos on that. We are in the process of a big solar upgrade on the camper. We learned a lot about that, but that'll be a whole nother video. So thanks for watching, guys. Any questions, put them down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.